Gophers basketball, it's going to be a fun one. There are all sorts of things that should excite you with this Gophers basketball team. J-Mo's back, Garcia's putting in game winners, and the freshmen are something to talk about. We're going to dive in today on Locked On Golden Gophers.
Hey, you are Locked On Golden Gophers.
No matter what we're going to do here, we're just going to keep rowing.
Your daily podcast on the Minnesota Golden Gophers.
However it turns out, we're just going to keep rowing.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
We're just going to keep rowing, and keep rowing.
You're listening to Locked On Golden Gophers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. My name's Kane Rob, host of the podcast, former collegiate football video coordinator and recruiting assistant, here to talk Golden Gophers with you each and every day of the week, Monday through Friday. So be sure to hit subscribe on YouTube, where we're building the community, and we're also having a current competition with Locked On Badgers because it is Axe Week, folks. And if you want to bring the axe home, not only on the field, but in a competition with fan bases across both Wisconsin and Minnesota, then all you need to do to help contribute to bring the Locked On Battle for the Axe to Minnesota is hit subscribe on YouTube and tell others about the channel so they can find it and we can build this thing up. So I'd appreciate it if you drop a subscription, hit subscribe. It's free on YouTube. But let's dive in and talk about the basketball team because they're at the SoCal Challenge. Right now, they play another game tonight in the championship of the SoCal Challenge. But what has happened so far out there? Well, the Gophers won in a nail-biter in their first game against Cal Baptist. And Cal Baptist, people might be like, oh, it's Cal Baptist. Like, how could you lose or win in a nail-biter with Cal Baptist? Who is Cal Baptist? No. First of all, let's talk about college basketball. It's the whole reason that people love college basketball is because anything can happen to any program in any one game at any moment. That's why you love the NCAA tournament. That's why you love Cinderella stories, where teams that are completely unexpected and not in high majors go out there and make runs to the Elite Eight, to the Final Four. It's crazy. It's March Madness for a reason. So that's why people love college basketball, but it doesn't just happen in March like that. These teams that find their ways into success in March, those lower major teams, they're typically beating high major teams throughout their seasons in little opportunities in non-conference games. They're dominating their low major conferences. So Cal Baptist is a good low major program, and they have a true talent in Taron Armstrong, who absolutely scores in fits for them. Now, in this game with Cal Baptist, the Gophers held Taron Armstrong to 0, absolutely blanked him in the first half, but it's hard to blank a player like that for an entire game. And he ended up finishing the game with 22 points in basically a half in a 5-minute overtime period. Now, most of it came in that second half. And he's the real deal. He hit threes. He scored driving. He dropped off buckets to his teammates, dropping dimes out there. So, I mean, Taron Armstrong, really talented player, showed it against the Gophers, led them back into the game. The Gophers led that game the entire regulation until the very end where they tied. Cal Baptist never had a lead in the regulation first half or second half of that game. They took their first lead in overtime, but the Gophers were able to come back and win the game on a last-second shot by Dawson Garcia that was set up by Jamison Battle. That's what you love to see. That's what you love to see is the two star players on the team getting into a groove with each other in their very first official game on the floor together. That's just what is to come with those guys. On top of that, you're seeing flashes from the freshmen that are absolutely positive when it comes to what is happening with this team. Key players in that game were Dawson Garcia, Jamison Battle, Talon Cooper, who I continually think doesn't get enough love from those basketball fans, general basketball fans across the Gophers fan base. Then Braden Carrington stepped up in this one and one of his first games back. I believe it was still his third game with the team. And then Pharrell Payne, things are just starting to click for Mr. Payne. And he's bringing the pain. He is jamming the ball. He is aggressive. He is getting rebounds. In fact, he had his first double-double in this outing. And then you also saw flashes from Jaden Henley, who's younger, and Trayton Thompson got some good minutes in this one. Now, something that did surprise me was Josh Ola-Joseph didn't seem more time in this one. I thought that he would be another player that was maybe in the 15 plus minutes in this game. I believe he finished the game with 6 or 7 minutes. So I'm curious to see if that's because him and Jamison Battle play similar roles, if his minutes will come down more, or if it was just due to something else in this one game. Maybe it was a matchup wise. Maybe it was just, who knows? That's something to keep an eye on as we move forward, as we play the next opponent in the SoCal Challenge later tonight, and as we move forward into some of these more high major games that are coming up. Now, like I said, this game went to overtime. Cal Baptist never led in regulation, and Dawson Garcia with the game winner after struggling early in this game with fouls and other obstacles, the shot not always falling or getting double teamed. So there were moments where it was tough for Garcia, but to see him bounce back in that second half and in overtime when we needed it the most, that was impressive. Now, the last thing I want to talk about in that game before we talk about more about the team as a whole is Pharrell Payne. Pharrell Payne was an athletic monster and put up his first double-double, leading the team in scoring and leading the team in rebounds, 15 points, 13 rebounds, true freshman. We hyped him up this offseason, and the only media available practice prior to the season talked about how just the bounce and the athleticism and what you saw, it was scary. It was awesome. It was something you don't see from people who are committing to the Gophers very often. Ben Johnson is trying to make a way to change this program. And so you're starting to see that progress starting to click, and it can be something special. But like I said, Ben Johnson is building this thing different, and that includes the way he is building with these freshmen. Let's talk about the freshmen. Let's talk about the build of this team and what is to come. But first, we have to talk about our friends over at LinkedIn Jobs. You want to be 100% sure that you have access to the best qualified candidates available when it comes to making your next hire for your small business. In fact, LinkedIn Jobs is one of the go-to spots for people searching or seeking for their next job. LinkedIn's network is massive, so massive that you should be over there posting about your job for free. And with our friends at LinkedIn Jobs, with the Locked On Network, you can do just that. All you have to do is create your free job post, then you add a purple hiring frame on your personal profile so that way people can see your hiring and share people within their networks that they think could be a key or quality fit for your job. Then you can use simple tools like screening questions to make it easier to focus on the candidates that are built just for you, and it'll help you kick off 2023 with a newfound sense of achievement. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. And to use your free job post, all you have to do is go into linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Again, that's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post about your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. All right, Gophers fans, thank you again for making Locked On Golden Gophers your first listen when it comes to Gopher sports on the daily. That's right, Monday through Friday. Now we're talking about the basketball team. We're talking about how Coach Ben Johnson is building this thing and how it is exciting for both now and the long term. Now, the freshman class has so much athleticism and so much upside. It is exciting even through the struggles, even through the learning moments, even through some of the losses that will come this season. The Gophers aren't going to go undefeated. They're not, well, they already lost one, but they're not going to go through the Big Ten and just run rampant through it. No, there's going to be losses. There's going to be learning moments. There's going to be some losses that might be huge. But hopefully, as the season progresses, we see the competitive teams like Michigan's, like Illinois, like Iowa, those teams, we see the Gophers staying in the fight and making it a real game, hopefully stealing a couple games along the way. because of the size, because of the athleticism, because of the youth on the team. And hopefully we'll continue to see this team grow towards the end of the season. Like Coach Ben Johnson has said, this team is it's put together much differently than last year's roster. Last year's roster entailed a lot of graduate transfers, a lot of senior transfers coming in, not the athletic build that Coach Johnson wanted to necessarily build the program with, but they had a huge hand in playing and building the culture and establishing the mindset of that locker room. Now you have the real youth of the team and what is the long-term build, and you're seeing it. You're seeing guys like Jaden Henley. He's still developing in that point guard area, in that facilitator area, because he's never really been asked to do that in his basketball career, but he's jumping in at the D1 high major level and he is doing it. And he has the perfect example to learn from with Talon Cooper, who is truly undervalued, like I said, by the common basketball fan. But Talon Cooper does it all. He scores, he helps facilitate, he sets up others' baskets, he keeps the defense on its toes, he plays really solid defense as far as helping in the double team and helping trap or come down from the top of the key. He also finds himself in the position to make key blocks, to make key steals, and keep the Gophers going. So Talon Cooper is a fantastic player for Jaden Henley to learn from and grow from over this next year or two. And then on top of that, you talk about the moments where Jaden Henley is being asked to score, being able to get his own looks and grow into his potential. That's exciting on its own. Then you have a player like Braden Carrington, who can be a streaky shooter at times, but he has the ability to be a scorer at every level on the floor, inside, mid-range, and outside. On top of that, there's moments where he reminds me a little bit of Gabe Kalsher, just having that threat of scoring, having the threat of the defense has to keep their eyes on him and where he is moving on the floor. But on top of that, he has rock solid defense. That is something that has been nice to see with this Gophers youth on the team, is that the defense is a key factor in how this team wants to play. And Braden Carrington showed that, and his game is still growing as well. These guys are true freshmen, those two I'm just talking about, and the next two that I want to bring up, which is Josh Ola-Joseph and Pharrell Payne. The sky is the limit for those two. Those two, and the upside that they have is absolutely out of this world. It's nuts. It's fun. They're aggressive. They're assertive. They're not out there complaining on the floor to refs. They're not out there chirping, head down mentality, grinding it out, and following the leaders of that basketball team, and JMO and Dawson, and learning what it takes to be that top tier type caliber player. That is what is exciting with this team. They're quick learners. Payne and Ola-Joseph both have made mistakes in their early games, and they've adjusted and they've learned and they've gotten on the floor more because they're learning from those mistakes and not making them again. The adjustments, the physicality, the athleticism, the upside, it's sky high for these guys. That is what is exciting. And then you add in the fact of Caden Betts, who's redshirting this year. Young guy, was 17 when he joined the squad, could have been a senior in high school this year. He is learning and developing with a Jamison Battle, with a Dawson Garcia, with this freshman class in practices each and every day. We might not see him on the court this year. We will not likely see him on the court this year. But the development that he's going to be getting as his senior year of high school with college guys, that can go a very long way, especially with another player who is steeped with upside. Then you throw in a Dennis Evans, a top recruit in the nation who committed to the Gophers, a Cam Christie, a top recruit in the nation who committed to the Gophers, 4-star guys. This is where you want to get on board, folks. This is where you want to get on. If you're a bandwagoner, now is the time to join. And if you are a loyal Gophers fan who has been through this, been through the ups and downs, now is the time to get excited. Could this Gophers team sneak into the tournament this year? Maybe. Time will tell. We'll see what happens on that front. But long term, this program is in good hands with Ben Johnson. So let's talk about the next game, which is tonight in the SoCal Challenge. Who are we playing? What is to look for? That's coming up next. But first, let's talk about our friends over at BetOnline. BetOnline, your number one source for sports betting info, stats. They've got you covered from pros to amateur leagues in soccer, basketball, esports, you name it, football, hockey. What else you got? You can probably find it over at BetOnline, and it's easy. It's simple. It's easy. They've also got podcasts over there. You can find it all over at BetOnline. Check it out on the mobile site, on your phone, or on the desktop today. BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, so we're wrapping this thing up by talking about the SoCal Challenge and our next opponents. Now, it is the SoCal Challenge Championship game tonight against UNLV. Now, UNLV upset number 22 Dayton last week, and they're looking to crack the top 25 themselves and get into the rankings, and the Gophers could help play spoiler to that mission. Now, to win this matchup, there are things that the Gophers need to do. The first is they have to win on the glass. They have to win on it early. They have to win on it often, and they have to win on it consistently. UNLV is going to be a scrappy team. They like to be in the paint, and they like to be in transition. So the Gophers need to win on the glass and keep second chance points off, but also to get out and get going and set up their own offense. On top of that, the Gophers have to clean up their free throw shooting. There's so many free opportunities at the charity stripe that the Gophers are not capitalizing on. Last game, I believe they shot 56 or 55%, and that's not the only time that they've shot 50% in the 50% range when it comes to free throws. Now, a good free throw shooting team will shoot more in the 70%. And if you're a fantastic team, you'll shoot maybe almost towards that 80% mark. So 50%, 52%, 56%, it's not acceptable when it comes to free throw shooting. And this Gophers team has to put that together. They have to clean it up, and they have to figure out how to drop those easy buckets that no one is contesting you on. So cleaning up the free throws is going to be something that needs to happen in this game, but also down the stretch over the course of the season. Now, the third thing that they have to keep in mind for this game against UNLV is they have to take care of the ball and get back in transition when it comes to defense. UNLV is a team that thrives off of points, off of turnovers. They force turnovers, and the points off of turnovers have been a key in them starting out hot, 5-0, upsetting Dayton, and all of their other victories. When it comes to points off of turnovers, UNLV has had 20 plus points off of turnovers in every single game of their season, except for the first game of this SoCal Challenge, where they almost dropped it to the Salukis. So first off, they were able to storm and come back and scrape out a win against the Salukis. But every game prior to that, they've had 20 or more points off of turnovers. 27 one game, 29 one game, 25 one game, 21 one game. That's 4 games where they've had 20 plus points off of turnovers. You can't turn the ball over against UNLV, and you have to get back in transition to stop easy buckets when you're playing this UNLV team. So overall, to win this game, you're going to have to make sure that you clean up turnovers and get back in transition. Win on the glass early, often, and consistently throughout the entirety of the game, and then clean up the free throw shooting. Now, another thing that UNLV likes to do is a majority of their scoring comes from the inside in the paint. UNLV is not known for three-point shooting. They're not very good at three-point shooting. I believe they've had one game above 35% when it comes to three-point shooting. Otherwise, they're regularly in the 20%. They've had a game with 15% shooting from three-point line. They're not a shooting team. And that plays in the Gophers' favor because the Gophers are really good at kind of locking down the inside when it comes to their length, their athleticism, and keeping the opponents having to shoot and take bigger mid-range or outside shots. We saw that early on in this game against Cal Baptist. We've seen it against some of the other teams that we've played thus far, and that should play into the Gophers' hands. So overall, this will be a great test for the young squad heading into high major play and conference play coming up. We've got Virginia Tech, we've got Purdue, and we've got Michigan all coming up in these next few games. This will be a big one against UNLV, and tune in to watch the Gophers in the SoCal Championship tonight. That's going to do it for us on Locked On Golden Gophers. Thank you for listening. Please be sure to subscribe and help us win that Locked On battle for the Axe this week. We're going to talk more football for the rest of the week. Hopefully, we're going to be having Tristan back on the show, and we'll see, maybe, just maybe, if we can get Brevin Spanford on the show as well. We're talking Axe week for a lot of the rest of the week, so be sure to hit subscribe. This is Kane Rob signing off. Row the boat, Sky Ima, go Gophers.